everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. As I was sitting down to make some recommendation videos for the Queer Lit Readathon, I realized that I had so many queer comics in my book collection and in my comics collection that I just wanted to sit down and make a separate video recommending comics for the Queer Lit Readathon. So this is going to be in no particular order, just a bunch of the queer comics and graphic novels that I have been reading and collecting over the years. I don't know how many of you know this if you're new to my channel. I love comics a lot. I used to work in a comic book shop for a time, try and make sure that I get to Emerald City Comic Con every year. And I'm definitely a kind of person that shows up every week to pick up my pull list, as well as a fair amount of indie comics. So without further ado, because there's a lot of books here, let's go ahead and get into them. I have kind of loosely separated these up into anthologies, ongoing series, and standalones, and then within that I have a couple different like subcategories. So we'll go ahead and go with the anthologies first. First up is Celestial Beings, which is volume 1 of Sapphic Zines. This is a zine series that contains a bunch of original art and fiction. Immortal Souls, which is the first volume in Power and Magic, the Queer Witch Comic Anthologies series. This is often put up on Kickstarter, but I know that you can also purchase this online and from local comic books. Serving Pride, the Queer History Dinner Party Handbook, which is a really interesting guide to queer history through art and comics under the guise of setting up a dinner. Sonnet, which is a queer love story between two knights, one of whom is locked up in a tower, and you can get this from the author's website. The author is Emily Cheeseman. And Dates, volume 1 and 2, which are both anthologies of queer historical fiction comics. And the last anthology that I have here is called Tabula Idem, a queer tarot comic anthology. Most of these anthologies I got via crowdfunding. I backed their Kickstarters or whatever their crowdfunding of choice was, and then they mailed it to me. But I believe all of these you can find online, either through the indie publishing houses that they've set up or through individual author websites. Now let's go ahead and do some standalones. First up, I have a couple really small indie short comics. I think that really short comics are great for readathons because it allows you to read a lot of books and experience a lot of different art and writing styles in a short amount of time. So first up, I have The Corners of Their Mouth, a queer food zine by L.M. Zoller and Robin Elon. Both of these authors are also trans-spec. And then I have 3 short historical comics that are written by Josh Trujillo and Levi Hastings. We have The Gay Blood Ban, Washington's Gay General, and Declaration. These are all different aspects of like queer history in the United States specifically. We have Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. This is also a middle grade story that features a love story between two. We have Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This is a very queer graphic novel that's a standalone and written by a lesbian. She is also the co-creator of Lumberjanes and the She-Ra Princesses of Power animated series on Netflix. So if you're a fan of either of those things, check out her first graphic. We have a classic here, which is Fun Home, a family tragicomic by Alison Bechdel. You can also check out the musical if you're interested or you've already read the book and you just want more. We have the DC and Hanna-Barbera Comics Exit Stage Left Snagglepuss Chronicles, which is basically a like retelling of the period in American history when McCarthyism was really prominent through the lens of DC and let me try that again. Through the lens of the Snagglepuss, Huckleberry Hound, all of those other Hanna-Barbera type characters, and this was truly excellent. This was a 5 out of 5 star read for me last year when I first picked it up. We have Sugartown by Hazel Newlevant, which is a romantic, very short comic that features a polyamorous relationship and is also written by a non-binary author. And then the last standalone that I have for you is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wong. This is, again, one of my very favorite books that I read the year that it came out. Got it as a birthday present and read it in one sitting. It made me cry. I absolutely love it. Well, just kidding. I have a couple of other standalones left, but these are all specifically trans-spec standalones. The first one is Stage Dreams by Melanie Gilman. This is actually written by a non-binary author, and one of the main characters of the comic is trans. It is a comic that takes place in the Wild West, and it is about these two women that go to the West for various different reasons and find each other, fall in love, and pull off a fantastic heist. Then we have a quick and easy guide to they and them pronouns and a quick and easy guide to queer and trans identities. These are really useful books if you're looking for something that will help you gather some information about identities or pronouns that you're unfamiliar with. They them pronouns also has a section on neopronouns, which I thought was really cool because new words get added to the dictionary every day. Gotta keep up. Hey, Bubba. Hi. And then we have another book that absolutely tore my heart into pieces and then stitched it back together again with sutures of hope, and that is Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe. So again, it is about your experience as a... It's about your experience as a transgender queer youth growing up and then finding autobiographical comics as a way to document that experience. Okay, now we have some that are series that are going on. I tried to kind of keep this as organized as Hi, you need to go. You need to go. I'm trying to work here. Go on. I tried to keep this as organized as I possibly could because there are a lot more series, and I think especially like Boom Studios is doing a great job of putting out more series that have queer, trans, non-binary representation on the page. So I'm going to go through these kind of quickly. There's Giant Days, which is currently coming to a close, but I think is maybe soft rebooting with this new series, and one of the main characters is a lesbian. The current iteration of Wonder Woman is being written by G. Willow Wilson of Ms. Marvel fame. As we know, Wonder Woman is canonically bisexual, and in the most recent arc, there is an awesome Greek god who is non-binary. Of course, it wouldn't be Queer Lit Readathon if I didn't mention Steven Universe in one way, shape, or form. This is created by a queer, non-binary woman and is just a wonderful, all-ages, friendly, accessible, wonderfully wholesome exploration of what it means to be a queer and or trans person in the world. And then this is the beginning of a series that I have not started reading yet because I just got it, but it is called Cosmo Nights by Hannah Templar. And the tagline is, for this ragtag band of space gays, liberation means beating the patriarchy at its own game. So I'm very excited to read this, and I know that it has on-page non-binary representation. Yes. Right, and then we have a series that I have read part of, but not all of, and that is the Witch Boy series by Molly Knox Ostertag. The second and third books are The Hidden Witch, and the one that just came out, Then we have one that combines my love of tabletop role-playing games with my love of comics and all things geeky, and that is the first volume of Critical Role's Vox Machina Origins comics. If you're not aware of what Critical Role is, it is basically a live stream D&D show that I really enjoy, and two of the characters that are part of the main party are canonically, again, would hardly be a queer comics recommendation video if I didn't bring up Lumberjanes at some point. As I mentioned before, this is co-created by Noelle Stevenson, who wrote Nimona and is also the creator of the She-Ra animated series. Lumberjanes definitely takes a little while to get going when you first start reading it, but once you do, it is a really fun exploration of queering girlhood and queering the summer camp experience. There are also non-binary characters, there's also trans characters. Great series overall. Okay, now into a genre that I didn't think that I was going to like, but I do, which is queer sports comics. I have two recommendations for you here. One of them is Fence, and one of them is The Avant-Gardes. These both take place at boarding schools where the characters are all put together, in this case on a fencing team, and this one on a sort of ragtag basketball team. Both of these series feature gender non-binary, gender non-conforming characters, queer characters, and they're just super great. Story about friendship, intense rivalry, and just made me care more about sports that I don't even play than I ever thought was possible. Next, I have a comic that is going to soothe your weary soul if you are just tired of some of the nasty stuff out there in the world, and that is Moonstruck. This is a very soft and sweet sort of romantic comic about a witch that falls in love with a werewolf, and it is so adorable. My favorite character is Chet, who is the non-binary centaur barista. Everything that they do just resonates so hard with me. They are the epitome of the gay disaster, and this is just a great series. There's 2 volumes out right now. Then we have Motor Crush, which is created by Babs Tarr. This is actually really, maybe this should have gone with the sports queers, but maybe not, because it is about a character named Domino, a main queer character who does like secret motor racing late at night, and there's this sort of illegal substance that's called Crush that like allows people to be able to basically like hack the engines of their cars so that they can be better at racing. Again, this is something that I literally just like met Babs Tarr, the comics creator. I was like, tell me about your comic, and she gave me the pitch, and I was like, I don't even know if I'll like this, but I'll try it, and I loved it. Then we have a series that is complete, but sadly not publishing too much anymore, which is The Backstagers. I adore this series. It is about a group of boys who are theater techs at an all-boys school, and it also has trans representation. Then we have Paper Girls. I was a little bit, this one comes with a slight bit of a caveat, because it is true that a couple of the main characters are queer girls, but it does contain some like really sort of dated, offensive language surrounding queer characters, because it does take place in the 1980s, and it is definitely, despite having child protagonists, very much not a book for children. So as long as you're okay with that, I would highly recommend this. I'm really enjoying this series. I'm sad that it's coming to an end, but I guess that just means I'm gonna go through and reread it next. And then my last recommendation is a series that I didn't know was even going to be a series, and that is the Tea Dragon Society. This is the second book, The Tea Dragon Festival, which I just recently learned is actually a prequel to the first book, The Tea Dragon Society, and it takes place when the gay couple that are sort of like the older mentoring fatherly figures in the Tea Dragon Society are young adventurers. We get more cool stuff with tea dragons. We get more wonderful stories about friendship, and I just think that this series is not only just the coziest, sweetest thing ever, but pretty damn near the epitome of queer joy. I will almost certainly be putting this on my TBR for the Queer Lit Readathon. So those are all of the comics and graphic novels that I have to recommend from my collection. Do you have any other queer comics or graphic novels that you would like to recommend to me? I must amass all of them into a mighty fortress of knowledge and sparkly happiness. So if you liked this video, please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more where that came from. I'm also going to link some information in the description box that will let you learn more about the Queer Lit Readathon if that's something that you're interested in participating in. I'm one of the co-hosts, which is why I'm making this video, and keep your eyes peeled for my TBR video, which I'm going to be posting later this month. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!